Hi, I'm Noel with CreationEffects.com, and this is a video tutorial for using Creation Glitch Effects, which is an After Effects template for creating tons of different kinds of digital glitch effects for your video, like the examples that you're watching. These effects are perfect if you're creating glitch art or if you're a video or film editor and you want a lot of control over the look and timing and intensity of the glitch effect. And with this template, you're also going to be able to apply your glitches quickly and easily, and it's all customizable using convenient slider controls. I actually made a glitch template a few years ago, and it's been so popular that I decided to redo it. So in the last several months, I completely rebuilt it from scratch. I added a lot of quality effects and just made it much more user-friendly and just bigger and better in every way. So to recap what you may have already saw in the demo video, the template has an insane 200 plus effects, including audio effects, stock footage clips of various digital glitches. You got glitch effects for your footage, you got transition effects, and also presets. The presets combine multiple effects into a finished comp. Like with all of the effects, you could just drop in your footage and you're ready to go with those. The whole template is really set up so that you can put as much or as little time into it as you want. If you're in a hurry, you can just drop in your footage into a single comp and immediately export your footage with any of the effects or any of the presets. Or if you have time and you want to play, you can explore doing your own unique combination of effects, and you can just play with the slider controls until the cows come home and get all kinds of looks. Alright, since this is a big template, there's a lot to talk about here. I should warn you that I'm probably going to edit out all the pauses just to speed things up, so if it moves really fast, that's why. And you will want to watch this video, but also if you ever get stuck, there are instructions throughout the template. Every comp has an instructions layer if you're feeling kind of clueless, and you'll also see these layer markers with helpful notes as well. I really think it's an easy template to use, but there's so much here and I want you to get the most out of it, so here we go. Let me also say that if you're looking for instructions on using the data mosh effect, I actually made a separate tutorial for that, so you can find that on the Creation Effects website. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make a copy or two of the template. You always want to work on a copy of the template and keep a copy of the original with all the default settings preserved. It's not a plugin, it's a template, so the settings aren't going to reset themselves every time you open it. Okay, and once you open it up, you'll see something like this. And there will be some instructions for getting started. We don't need that right now. You're going to want your effect controls panel, so make sure that's available. So your first step is to import your footage. And you can put it in this folder. It says Your Media. I made that folder special just for you. I worked really hard on it too, so I hope you like it. And next you want to put your footage into this comp that says Your Footage. So I'll just drag it over. So that will allow you to now preview and export every effect and every preset in the template with your footage. And this comp here that says main comp, add your effects here. That's there for if you want to build your own unique glitch look as opposed to using one of the presets. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. I'm going to go through all of these folders. Let me just start with this digital static folder because these are kind of the backbone for all the effects in the template. If you open that up, you'll see the stock footage folder with 16 different video clips of different glitches. A few of these were made with this template, but a lot of them weren't faked, meaning they're authentic glitches that I made by screwing around with the code of video files. So you can use these however you want. You can edit them into your footage or composite them over your footage, or do like I did throughout the template and use them as track mats for your effects. I'll close that, and right above it you'll see a comp that says Digital Static Generator, and inside, if we play it, we have blocks, and that's just the default look, nothing that special. But you can use this comp to create lots of different kinds of what I call digital static. And like the glitch footage, these are used all over the template as track mats and displacement maps, or you can just composite them over your footage if you want. You can see if I unhide layers, each layer has a different look. And if you select a layer and go to the Effect Controls panel, there are a ton of these slider controls to customize how the static looks and behaves. I'm not going to go over all of these, but a few controls you should understand, because you'll see them all over the template, are these frame freeze controls and these auto on-off blinking controls. So you can see if I play this, the design changes every frame and then it freezes for a little bit and then continues to change. So it's this random pause and play, essentially, which is just how digital glitches tend to behave. So you can customize the timing of that using these freeze controls. You have minimum freeze time, maximum freeze time, minimum play time, and maximum play time. And the values are in seconds, and everything is random within the boundaries that you set in these controls. Second, we have these auto on-off blinking controls. And you can use these whenever you want glitches to appear randomly or sporadically over your footage. Very similar, you have minimum and maximum on time and minimum and maximum off time. And they're in seconds. And they determine how much the layer turns on and off, or in other words, how often do we see it. So right now, the on times are 100 seconds and the off times are 0. So the layers will stay on all the time. All right, and one more feature to understand about these digital static comps. At the top, we have this control layer. And in there, we see we have another set of blinking controls as well as these freeze controls. And there's a checkbox for both to turn them on. And these are global controls, meaning that you can use these to control multiple layers together. So without these on, if you have multiple layers visible here, they'll all blink on and off or freeze and play independently of each other. And you may want to have the look of multiple layers, but you want them all to freeze and play together or blink on and off together. So just turn on the global controls, and now, in the case of these frame freeze controls, these settings will override the individual frame freeze settings on each layer, and it will make them all freeze in sync. And in the case of the on-off blinking controls, these don't override the local settings, but instead they actually just add these settings on top of the individual or local blinking settings for each layer. So play with the controls, come up with your own unique glitch designs, or if you want a digital static comp really quick, I have a few digital static presets in this folder. So these give you an idea of the different looks that can be achieved using just these layers. All right, audio effects. I'll do that last. So next we have glitch effects. And there's 46 unique and customizable glitch effects that you can apply to your footage. And it's really easy to apply the effects. You either just copy and paste the effect, or in some cases you just drop in your footage into a comp. I'll open this glitch effects preview comp so we can see all of the effects. And your footage is already at the bottom here. So to preview any effect, you can just turn the layer on. The yellow layers are copy and paste effects. So these, you can just copy them. I'll copy some random layers here. And then just go to your main comp and paste them above your footage layer. And you can build your custom glitch look that way. That's interesting. You can try any combination of effects, and every effect has a ton of slider controls which allow you to customize the effect. And again, you have your auto blinking controls to make the effects turn on and off randomly. By default, the on times are all set to 100, so the effects will stay on constantly. If you want to understand an effect better, you can always read the marker notes here. Just double click. So those are the yellow layers, the copy and paste effects. What about these blue layers? I call these pre-comp effects, and they're generally more complex, too complex to fit on a single adjustment layer. So I made separate comps for them with multiple layers inside. And you can see each of these pre-comp effects have their own individual folder down here. And each effect also has its own Your Footage comp, which should have your footage already in there by default from up here. But it's here if you want to put something different in there, or if you want to combine multiple pre-comp effects, which I'll show you in a second. To customize a pre-comp effect, open up the main comp for the effect, and then select the control layer, and you'll find your slider controls in there. Now, most of these effects use digital static comps, like the ones that I showed you, and they're used as track mats or sometimes as maps. So you can see here's your digital static comp, and then your layer with the effect is underneath it, and the track mat is defined here. So now any area of the digital static comp that is white, that's where the footage is displaced the most, and areas that are black aren't affected. So if you want to change the behavior of the digital static comp, like the freeze and play behavior, then you can open up the digital static comp, and using the slider controls on the layers inside, like I showed you earlier, you can customize that. Most of the qualities of the effect can be customized using the control layer in here. And if you're done customizing, you can just drag this comp into your main comp, or you can copy it straight from the preview comp here and paste it into your main comp. And one last thing about the pre-comp effects, you may likely want to combine multiple effects to just really screw up your footage. So remember I told you how each pre-comp effect has its own Your Footage comp? So what you have to do is nest compositions. So if I wanted to apply this block pause effect first, and then add the echo saturation effect, I can open the Your Footage comp of the second effect, and I'll take this block pause comp and I'll drag it into the Your Footage comp for this echo saturation effect. And you can do that with as many effects as you want, or at least until your system can't handle anymore. And then just drag this last pre-comp effect into your main comp. And also I should note that you can't duplicate any of these folders. It won't work. So if for some reason you need to run your footage through a pre-comp effect twice, you'll need to export it, then open a new project and apply the effect a second time. Okay, to recap, we have 24 copy and paste effects, or yellow layers, and 22 pre-comp effects, or blue layers. And you can combine any number of these layers to build your own custom glitch look for your video. But I know that many of you have deadlines, or you just want to create something in a hurry, so I created these 19 presets, which do just what I said. They combine multiple effects into one complex, cohesive glitch. And you can control the intensity of all the combined effects in each preset with a single slider control. So let's open one. I'll open Corrupt Digital Cable. And this is your main comp for the preset. And again, we have this pre-comps folder, and inside you can see there are 4 levels of pre-comps in this preset. The first is just a Your Footage comp, but it should have your footage from this comp in there by default. And then you have 3 folders, and these are the pre-comp effects that I used to build this preset. And these are all nested compositions like I showed you. And if I open up the main comp, you'll notice that there's one yellow layer, or copy and paste effect, over everything. And under that is the last level of the pre-comp effects. So time displacement found here. And then at the very bottom is your footage without any effects. And that's important because if you want to turn off the effects of the preset, you can just turn down the opacity of this layer. But to save you time, I've already built some controls to do that for you. If we go into the control layer, we have our familiar on-off blinking controls. So these will make all the effects of your preset turn on and off randomly and in unison. But even cooler, all of the presets have this threshold slider, and this will basically allow you to turn down all of the effects together. And this doesn't usually affect the opacity, but it actually turns down the strength of the effects. So you can get something more subtle or something stronger, or usually if you turn it down to -100, that would turn all the effects all the way off. So you can keyframe this value or use the blinking controls, or both if you want. It's your party. So a couple more folders left. Let's look at the transitions folder. There's a bunch of transition effects to choose from, 51 to be exact. That's 30 copy and paste transitions in this comp here, and 21 pre-comp transitions in here. And you can preview them in these preview comps, or there's a video on creationeffects.com which shows you all of them, one right after the other. I'll open this copy and paste transitions preview comp, yellow layers again. And each transition effect consists of a video effect layer, and then right underneath it an audio effect layer. And as the marker notes say, the transition effect happens here at the 5-second mark. So for previewing purposes, you might want to go to the very bottom where your footage is and slide your footage over until there's a cut that happens at this 5-second mark. I'll just cut these in two and make a little edit. Like that. So the footage layers are isolated here, as you can see with this little circle icon. So to preview any transition, you can just isolate the video and audio layers, and then you can do a RAM preview. And if you want to use it, just copy those layers together, or multiple layers if you want. You can use any number of these on a single cut. So I'll maybe copy these two. They always share the same name. And I'll copy these two as well. And then I'll go to the main comp or wherever my footage is, and I'll paste them. Make sure all the layers are on. Then just line them up over your cut. So put your timeline cursor at the first frame of the second shot in your cut, and then you can align the transition layers so that the markers sync with where your timeline cursor is, and that's it. Copy, paste, and place it over your cut. The pre-comp transition effects can be previewed in here, and when you find the one that you like, just find its folder down here. And you have your pre-comps folder as usual with a your footage comp inside. Again, these already have your footage in them by default, so you can preview it. But this is one time where you will actually need to change what's in there. Like the copy and paste transitions, we just need to make the cut in your footage sync up with a marker here at the 5-second mark. So put your timeline cursor at 5 seconds and slide your footage over. Or if you have two clips, you just drag them in here and edit them so that a cut occurs at the marker. And then your finished transition is in this comp here, so you can just drag this comp to your main comp if you want. So it's 10 seconds long, but you don't need that much, so you can trim it to a couple seconds, and then you just have to slide it over so that it syncs with your existing footage layer. And that's it. It's the same principle for all of these, with the exception of the data mosh effect. That one works a little differently, and I made a separate tutorial just for that effect if you want to use it. So you can find that on Creation Effects website, creationeffects.com. Okay, so the last folder to show you is the audio effects folder. And inside the folder you'll probably go to the most is this one, Audio Effect MP3s. You have 37 audio sound effects in here and a preview comp to listen to them. Most of them are about 10 seconds long. These are actually set to loop continuously, so they look a lot longer. The best way to preview them is to just turn it on and then hit the period key on your numpad. So you can use these in your effects or preset comps if you want. And you also have this folder, Effects for Audio Track. This is if you want to add an effect to the audio in your footage. And After Effects is notoriously not so great with audio. You're very limited in what you can do. So there's not a whole lot here, but if you open the effects comp, well, first make sure your audio is in the audio comp. So this has your footage in there by default, and you can change that to a music file or something if you want. Then go to the Effects for Audio Track Preview comp, and let's look at the control layer. You have 3 sets of controls here for the 3 main audio effects: volume oscillation, flanger chorus, and pitch oscillation. If you want to use any effect, turn it on with the checkbox and then play with the controls until it sounds good, or until it sounds really awful, depending on how you look at it. And then of course you have your auto on-off blinking controls to make these effects turn on and off randomly and automatically. And when these are off, your normal audio will play, which is this layer's audio here. So that is it, I think. I'm going to go over a few troubleshooting tips now before I end the video, so you may want to stick around. There's a couple things that one might do which could accidentally make After Effects freeze up or cause errors. So you want to be sure you know what those are so you can avoid doing them. I don't want you to lose your work. Or if you purchase a template and you got an error, then this part is for you as well. So there's an expression I use throughout the template on the time remapping effect, and RAM previews don't seem to like it very much, at least not when the audio is turned on for the layer with the expression. So every now and then you'll open a comp and the out point will be set to 30 seconds. And there will be a marker that says keep this work area short when previewing. And these are the comps that use that time remapping effect. And the longer the work area, the longer that After Effects freezes up when you do a RAM preview. For those who don't know, a RAM preview is when you play your comp using the 0 key on the numpad. So if you had this all the way at the end and then did a RAM preview, you might cause After Effects to freeze up for 5 minutes before your preview starts. So if it's like this at 30 seconds, you'll be fine. It's important to be aware of this because if you combine this pre-comp effect with another pre-comp effect, you'll want to shorten the work area of all of the comps that contain one of these comps inside them. So like the block pause effect and the frame freeze and skip effect, those are a couple of the effects that use the expression. Also, if you get an error, you probably had a problem with an expression. I think most of the time it's going to be something you can easily fix. I found out sometimes when you open a comp up, your timeline cursor might not be visible in your timeline, and you'll look at your time code and you can see that your cursor is like at negative 10 seconds or something. It all depends on where your cursor was in the previous comp that you opened. Anyway, this causes errors on some of the expressions, so all you need to know, if you get an error message when opening a comp that says something like result not found, you can look over your time code and see if it's a negative number. And if it is, click somewhere on the timeline and bring the cursor back, and then just select all the layers, right click, and choose Reveal Expression Errors. And when they pop up, you just turn them back on again, and you're good to go. Alright, I think I've taken enough of your time. I'll let you start destroying your footage. Enjoy the template. And if you want to hear about new templates as I develop them, you can follow me on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks for watching.